Sometimes you got to do it respectfully. You got to call them out on their bullshit. So you see, how long have you had these problems? Again, you're building value. You're moving the timeline up. Have they been getting worse, Mr. and Mrs. Customer? Yes.
Not only are you getting them to talk about their problems, you're also getting them to remember all of their problems. We've been suffering with this for 5 years, 10 years. Yeah. And they say, oh, wow, I can't believe it's been that long. It just gets them thinking about how significant this problem really is. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Build to Win podcast. My name is Jonathan Weinberg. I'm here with my co-host, John Kolbaska, and we've got a great episode for you today. We're going to be talking all about the needs assessment, which is a critical part of your sales presentation and your sales process that I don't think people talk about enough. And we need to educate our listeners as to how to do this effectively in order to get the best results out of their sales presentation. Right? I mean, a lot of times we talk about our sales presentation and it's, we want to talk about our company story and we want to talk about our products and we want to demonstrate our products and we want to close. We want to try to get that one call closed, but you don't hear as much about the needs assessment. And, John, this is something that you've done really, really well. I remember from the very beginning, working with you, you would always go into the homeowners, with a very detailed needs assessment. You'd check off all the answers. You'd go through it all. And that would be the basis for how you approached the sales presentation. So tell a little bit about what your process is like.
Are you kidding me, Jonathan? You mean sales is not easy? It's, you can't just walk into a homeowner's house and say, hey, how are you? What do you want? When do you want it?
Actually, I feel like it is easy sometimes for some people. Just some of this stuff comes naturally. Me, I struggle with that, but no, there's a process. There's skill, there's technique, there's all kinds of different things that are involved.
You're not just going in there, you're processing like, hey, what do you want? When do you want it? How much you're looking to spend? That's going to get you thrown out, right? So it's important to learn how to sell correctly, right? And you're right. You hear all these, you watch all these videos, you go to these conferences, you see these people get up on stage, they talk about sales, right? And it's for whatever reason, everybody skips over the needs assessment. And it's the critical first step. It's like, how could you sell anything without truly knowing why you're there? Like, what is the customer's problem? Like, what are you there to solve, right? As salespeople, I tell my sales guys all the time, we're not salespeople. We're problem solvers, right? It's up to you to figure out why are we there? What's the problem that the customer is having, right? Every single customer has a different problem. Right. And you have to offer a customized solution. Right. So it's like, yeah, of course they want replacement windows or they need a new entry door. But why? Right. What is truly contributing to that decision? Because look, at the end of the day, people don't wake up and go, hey, it's a great day. I can't wait to replace my windows today. Right. And the long list of priorities and things that they've got going on in life, I can guarantee it's at the very bottom. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they've probably been putting that project off for years. Right. I've talked to people and asked them, and you'll see in the needs assessment, how long have you been considering starting this project? I've talked to people that have said 30 years. I'm like, 30 years. It sounds like, I must be lucky to come in here today. It's like, why? What made you pick up the phone now?
Mm-hmm.
Call my company and get an estimate, right? Was it an offer, right? Are the windows leaking, right? Were you sitting there yesterday? Was your wife sitting there yesterday watching the soap opera at 1:00 in the winter and it was a windy day and was there air infiltration? Was the wind on her back? Did she call you and did she finally have enough?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? If you tell the same story to every person, you're going to fail, right? I mean, it's the same story, or it doesn't work for every single person, every single scenario, every single case. It's got to be.
At the end of the day, so we use Engage for our presentation, right? It's funny. It's like everybody wants to start at the presentation. I got this awesome presentation. Wait till you see it. It's going to knock your socks off, right? But the average presentation is going to have 50, 60 slides or more. Ours has over 120, right? So if I just walk in and just start showing you a presentation, and there are companies and salespeople that just do that, right? They just skip over the needs assessment and they go right to the presentation. If I'm sitting there showing you 120 slides, I'm going to bore you to death. The homeowner is going to be like, what the hell did I get myself into? Right? This is your, typical salesperson. This is the salesperson that they complain about, right? Like, it's not listening to me. It's just showing me shit that I'm not even interested in.
Well, I mean, listen, it's like you want your salespeople to follow the process, right? There's a process they should follow, but it's not always exactly the same.
It's never the same. If you truly break it down, right, and you listen to each appointment, although you may be there to replace the windows or the door, everybody is like a snowflake. It's different. And if you truly listen, ask the right questions, listen to what the customer's wants and needs are, right? That's cliche, wants and needs. If you are really there to actively listen, ask the question, get the answer, and ask more questions, right? Like, be curious as to why, right? The customer gave you that answer so that you can understand at a deeper level. When you get to your presentation, you don't have to show all 60 slides or 120 slides, right? Have you ever met someone and you started to have a conversation with them and you just didn't really like them because you felt like they weren't really listening to you? So like you were having a conversation and then they were talking back and it was like they were listening to answer. Do you ever have that where you were like having that conversation? You're trying to have a good conversation with somebody and it's like, I just feel like they don't get me because they were talking at you.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Well, this is the common problem with salespeople in our industry. They just follow the process. They're like, well, I got 120 slides here, or I got 60. I'm going to show you all 60. But chances are, if you've got 60 slides, probably 20 of them, the customer doesn't really care about, right? Like the customer, it's not relevant. Now, there are some parts of your presentation that you have to show, right? Regardless, like, the company story, you have to talk about your company, right? And there are some things like energy efficiency. There's still some things, and every company is different.
There's going to be core components of every presentation, no matter what.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, if I were to sit there and show every single one of our customers, our sales reps, the 120 slides, we'd be there. First of all, we'd be there for 45 minutes, an hour, just showing slides. We'd be boring the customer to death. We're never going to sell them because the customer's going to be like, they just don't get me. I just wasn't comfortable. It didn't feel good, right? You truly want to really get to know the customer, right? Customers buy from people they like, know, and trust. Yeah, it's because you're listening. Yeah. You're asking good questions.
Absolutely.
This is the hard part. This is like when you get into sales, right? Or you've been in sales for years. Most sales trainers, they don't teach you this. It's like, follow your process. 60 slides. Ask questions. But they don't tell you why.
And the other thing is, right, when you're doing a needs assessment, you are asking questions, right? You're interviewing the homeowner. People love to talk about themselves and they love to talk about their problems. And if you can acknowledge that and let them talk, that's a powerful thing. You're going to start pulling them in and they're going to feel like, oh, they understand me. They know what I'm looking for and they know what my issues are.
The best sales reps, God gave you one mouth and two ears, use it that way, right? The best sales reps will sit down with a customer. They'll be actively engaged and they'll have a needs assessment, which has, 10, 20 questions. It's like a blueprint that's listed, right? And every company has different questions on it. And I'll share mine in a couple of minutes. And all that really is it's a guide, right? It's like a conversation starter, right? It's just a guide, right? The best sales reps will ask the question and listen, and then listen and ask another question that's not on the list of questions because they truly want to understand. They're going to go deeper, right? This is stuff that experienced sales rep. These are the best. Like, what makes a great sales rep? A great sales rep asks great questions, truly sits down, gets to know why they're there. Customer feels comfortable with them, right? And at the end, it's the same thing on the close, right? You're asking questions to get to the close. Sure, it's going to be a lot of money. It's too much. It always is, But if they're comfortable with you and you truly get them, they're going to feel good about it, right? And if there's some apprehension, you ask more questions. Because it's like, well, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, you did tell me that, energy efficiency was very important to you earlier, right? Yeah. So, yeah. Do you really want to compare me to the Home Depot quote? Like, come on. You're right, John.
Right. Yeah. Because the whole point, those questions that you ask up front in the needs assessment come back in the close, right? That's how you kind of, that's how you close. You understand what the problems are. You call out the problems, and you call out the solutions during the presentation. They come back to it. You know how to handle the objections when they come at the end, right?
It's like I laugh. Like I see like these sales trainers online and they're like, here's a bunch of cards. Here's an objection. Here's the rebuttal. Remember them. It's 130. No, man. Like at the end of the day, if you just listen to your customer, you just have a regular conversation with them, right?
Right.
And you're a real person. And you sit down and you say, hey, we discussed this, right? The logical conclusion at the end for the best sales reps, 45% of the time, 50% of the time, is going to be to do business with you, right? Because you're listening.
Yes. You're
providing the real solution. People don't get it. It's like, well, let me be a strong closer. How are you going to be a strong closer if you don't really know your customers' problems, right? There's been situations. Oh, admittedly, I haven't sold in years, but I teach and train sales reps, and I've sat down in thousands of homes. There's literally been times when I've gone into a customer's. There's literally been times when I've gone into a customer's home, got to know them, felt good about it, and said to them, "Look, you know what? I don't think we're the right solution for you," right? And walked away because I'm truly there to solve their problem. But I know because I asked the questions.
It's funny. Here's something funny. So we do something very similar from the software side of things, right? We call it discovery. It's just a different name, but it's basically the same thing.
It's a needs assessment. It's discovery.
Yep. And, sometimes we get people in that aren't the best fits for what we do. And we'll say, like, you know what? I don't think this is the right solution for you. And for whatever reason, it seems like that pulls them in and makes them want it more. Right? I don't know why. I don't know if that's even relevant to what we're talking about. But it doesn't hurt to be. Listen. You should be honest about when it's not the right solution.
It's like fear of loss, right? It's a tactic, right? Like there are sales reps that literally do that.
Yeah, we don't do it. We don't do it as a tactic. We just do it because we don't want to get somebody into the wrong solution.
There are sales reps that are like tactical, right? Like they'll sit in front of a mirror and they'll be like, objection. It's too much money. Here's 5 rebuttals. And they'll just script. It's like script. And they'll follow the script. And it's like, and they'll go out there like a robot. And they'll be like, yeah, okay, all right. That's what I'm going to do. If I get A, I do B. If I get C. And they're like, why am I failing? Because at the end of the day, right, sales is pretty freaking simple. It's like, get to know what your customer's problem is and how you can provide the solution, right? And come up with a solution that's affordable, right?
Yeah, but by the way, we're going to have to get that into the promo reel. They're like a robot.
But they really are. I've trained guys, and it's like no matter how much I try to tell them, like, hey, just be curious, right? It's like when you meet a woman at a bar. When you're a single guy, you meet a woman in a bar, right? You're kind of interviewing each other. It's like, so what do you do for a living? Like you're getting to know each other. You're doing the same thing at the table. You really are, right? Yeah. And you should be comfortable with that. You should be friendly. You should be engaging. Customers should feel great, natural. Like they should just feel good about having you there. Like right now, you and I are having this conversation, right? And your body language is good because it's like the way I'm talking to you, right now, I do the same thing in the house. I'm just myself. And the customer feels good about that. See how you're smiling? You've been smiling the whole time because you're like, you've been smiling. You're engaged, right, in our conversation. Because it's just good. It feels good. It feels fun. I'm just naturally asking the right questions and just trying to really get to know you, right? I've told customers too, like, listen, at the end of the day, we may not be a fit, and that's okay, right? And I'll walk away, and like I live here. I'm going to see you in the mall, I'll see you at dinner, at the end of the day, it's got to work for you and it's got to work for us, right? Like, and it's okay to tell me no. It's okay. That being said, let's just go over it, right? We spoke about, this is what you told me. Is that important? Yes. Okay. And then that's how you deal with objections, right? Well, you did tell me earlier because I asked the questions and I didn't ask it one time. I asked the question and then I went deeper and deeper, and they call it open-ended versus closed. Look, it's all bullshit, right? It doesn't need to be tricky sales tactics, right? It's like, I asked the open-ended question because, you want to get another answer. But when you're closing, ask closed-ended questions so that at the end of the day, if you're just curious and you're asking the right questions, none of that shit matters.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm really passionate about it.
Yeah. So, I know you are. Why don't we jump into your needs assessment and
this is the problem I see sales reps do, like new sales reps and even experienced sales reps. They'll take a company's needs assessment and they'll just read it word for word, and they'll just ask it. They'll get the answer and they'll write it down, and they won't ask any other follow-up questions, right? So let me share my screen here.
Yeah, each one should be conversation starters.
Yeah. So do we see that, Jonathan? Do we see the window project discovery?
We do.
So this is my company needs assessment here, the project discovery, whatever you want to call it. It's a needs assessment. So first question, you sit down, you're typically doing this at the beginning of the appointment. I actually like to do this after I've already measured the project. Most sales processes will tell you to do this before you go measure. I like to measure first. I think I know we're talking about needs assessment, but like the measuring, I find that it's a better user experience for the customer, because when you get there, the first thing they want to do is show you their project. And it's okay. Like, you do the warm up, you get to know them, you set the agenda, and it's like, okay, let me show you my window. So if you're doing a door, a lot of times you got your back right to the door that you're going to be measuring, right? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't feel natural to say, okay, well, let's go sit down and I'll ask you this, and then I'll measure them. It's like, okay, let me measure these things. You can gather a lot of information too during the measure, right? Because you're asking questions there, and then you can sit down. So I like to do this third. Most sales systems will tell you do the needs assessment second, then go do the measure. I do this third, right? So at this point, I'm probably depending on the size of the project that I'm quoting, but let's say the average job here is about 8 windows. I'm already in the house now for about 20 minutes, right? I've met them at the door. I've set the agenda. I've measured, right? I've got my list of windows and styles and options and sizes and all of that, right? Now I sit down. So the customer knows me. And the first question is just like a warm-up. Like, so, hey, Jonathan, let me just ask you a question. How did you hear about us, right? Like, what made you call us today, right? So, referral. I have referral, direct mail, Facebook, Google, showroom, other, right? I'll ask follow-up questions, right? Like, if they're like, well, my friend referred you. And I'd be like, I would say something like, oh, really? Who was that? Oh, well, it was Jack and Kennedy, and, they live around the corner. Oh, that's great. Let me ask you a question. What did we do for them, right? Because chances are they probably saw the project, right? So I want to know, what did we do for them, right? So that I could probably, if I can, I'll ask further questions. Like, I might want to provide the same solution. I'll go into that a little bit deeper, right? Well, I saw your ad on Facebook. Oh, okay. Well, I have 6 different offers on Facebook. Oh, really? So the follow-up question would be, what ad did you see? I said, I saw the buy 2, get 1. Great. Buy 2. Yeah, that's excellent. Great. And then I'll move on. But I'm asking more follow-up questions, right? Getting a deeper understanding. What made you decide to get, and the second question is, what made you decide to get information on replacing your windows today? Like, we just talked about that at the beginning of the podcast here, right? People sometimes put this off for 30 years.
Right.
You've had the problem. Why now?
Right. And you need to ask that. Why now? Right. Why now?
Why now? Like, is it because I got a buy 2 get? Is it because my company has a buy 2 get 1? And you just been waiting to find the right deal? Yeah, maybe. Right. Oh, was it the draft that was blowing on your back while you were watching the soap operas yesterday on a windy day in the winter? Like, why? Like, what's the pain, right? Like, why now, right? And then you ask, obviously, follow-up questions. And right here, how long have you been considering replacing your windows? See, that's the follow-up to that, right? And then after that, next to it, has anything stopped you in the past? Can't tell you how many reps will just fly through this thing, or they'll skip questions. Look at how important these are.
Yeah, can you imagine like going in and not doing this, and then the difference between having this information up front and not having this information up front?
It's incredible. And it's like you can tie back slides in your presentation on Engage, or even if you had a pitch book, right? You can tie the answers to those slides or those pages, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're telling you what's relevant, what they want to talk to you about.
Right.
Based on the answers they're giving you to these questions. You know how many reps just say that is a waste of time and just skip over this? And then just start showing stuff out of a pitch book or an Engage presentation. People like
showing them stuff that doesn't matter. It's not relevant. It's again, you're not listening to them. You're talking at them.
Yeah. It's incredible. It's like, I feel like they got me. I feel like he understood me. Yeah. You know, and it's funny because sometimes you may get some resistance to this, right? Like as a sales rep, you may sit down and we do put this on a sheet of paper. Most of our stuff is digital, but it's one of the few things we kind of want the customer to get engaged with. Sometimes you'll get a customer go huff and puff like, and then, and as a sales rep, I'll have some fun with it. I'll say, listen, look, I get it. I'm just going to go through it quickly with you. I tell them I'm going to go through it quickly, but I truly want to be able to understand, why we're here, what some of your issues are. This helps me do that. Fair enough, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. I kind of bring the resistance down, right? And then I just make it fun. And I'm not like reading from it like a zombie where my face is buried and I'm going, scanning through it, writing. I'm just looking at it and I'm just looking up and I'm just having a great conversation. A lot of times I'm asking the follow-up questions and it's on the sheet already because it's just natural.
Right.
It just feels good, right? So look at the questions, right? Has anything stopped you in the past? Have any of your windows been replaced? Before, yes. No. How many if they were, right? These are follow-up questions. They're there. If you had to replace your windows in stages, which would you consider priorities? Lots of times, because you'll go into an estimate and they'll be like, I want to get all my windows replaced, but they've got 50 windows.
Yeah.
And they had no idea that it was going to cost $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000, right?
Right.
You got to figure out which ones are the priorities, right? So this is just getting out in front of it. Why those windows? Look at the next question. Why those? Why are those the priorities? Right?
Yeah.
What problems, if any, are you experiencing with your existing windows? Now, I have a Windows needs assessment. I have a door needs assessment. Lots of the same questions, but there's different questions too, right? So, and then there's a checklist. Are they drafty? Check. Are they hard to open and close? Check. I like to tell people, like those guillotine windows where you open it, you stick your neck out.
I remember that slide in the presentation. Yeah.
I love it, right? Are they difficult to clean? Do you hear a lot of road noise? Do you have the seal failure, where you can't see outside them? Oh, yeah. Do they have any broken locks, right? Or they won't stay up. That's the guillotine window. Do you see any mold? Is there any cracked or broken glass? Any water? Do you see? No, yes. And you're kind of going through it. Okay, what's that? And again, if you've measured them already, you're kind of just going through it and checking with them, right? But it lets them know that you're actively engaged and you're listening, right? How long have you had these problems, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, right?
I'm noticing something that's missing there. What about ugly? Windows? I mean, that should be an option on there.
Yeah, they will tell you. Yeah, they will tell you that, right? But for the most part, people are replacing them for those reasons, right? And again, an experienced sales rep will say, okay, great. Is there any other things here that I may not be aware of, problems that are not on this list? You will say that. That's follow-up, right? If I went through a normal needs assessment, the way I would do it, Jonathan, this podcast would be 30 minutes. My average needs assessment takes me about 30 minutes to get through. And it feels good. It doesn't feel unnatural. The customer doesn't get huffy puffy. If the customer is truly qualified and really looking to get the solution to their problem, and they're just not like price, just give me an estimate, they're going to enjoy this journey with you because you're going to be asking questions and listening mostly.
People like to talk about their problems. That's
exactly right. So for the most part, like I said, it'd take 30 minutes. If I were to go through every single one of these and do it the way I would, and it became more of a presentation, this podcast would be an hour been 15 minutes long because I'd spent 30 minutes just going through a needs assessment, right? The exact way. But you could see like every single question that's on this needs assessment, they're giving you the information, right? They're giving you the answers to their problem.
Yeah.
How are you going to take that information and provide the solution?
Right.
Are you actively listening? It's a problem with most sales reps. They don't actively listen. They just listen to respond.
Yeah.
Because they're taught objection, rebuttal, objection, rebuttal. Scripts, memorize this. Jesus, you can't go through life like that. You can't go into 10,000 homes and have every single one fall the exact same way. You've got to be natural. This is what they call like thinking on your feet. Just being natural, just having conversations, right? Recalling information they gave you. Sometimes you got to do it respectfully. You got to call them out on their bullshit, right? But so you see, how long have you had these problems? Again, you're building, you're building value. You're moving the timeline up. Have they been getting worse, Mr. and Mrs. Customer? Yes. Okay.
So, and not only are you getting them to talk about their problems, you're also getting them to remember all of their problems, right? So some things they may have like, oh, how long? It's like, oh yeah, we've been suffering with this for 5 years, 10 years. It's like, and they say, oh wow, I can't believe it's been that long, right? So it just gets them thinking about, how significant this problem really is.
The pain point, right? It's you're moving up the project, you're making it a higher priority. Like,
without doing anything, they're doing it themselves, right? All you're doing is asking a question.
So like, I love to use the example of the wife that got the draft on the back of her neck when she was watching a soap opera, because that was a real customer. This is many years ago. I was sitting there with husband and wife. And I could tell, like, I was there because the wife was tired of that draft on the bay window, right? And I could tell, because as a matter of fact, she told me she'd been telling her husband for 7-8 years, like, we need to fix this window, right? And it's like, she wanted that window. The husband did not want to spend the money. He's like, I had to make it a priority. I had to get them. I had to move it up, right? I had to do this by getting her to talk about it, put it out there so the husband could hear it, because he wasn't really engaged. I had to pull him into the needs assessment, the appointment, to get him to be engaged, because I was actively listening. I was asking the question. The wife was answering. She was looking at him. He was looking at her, and I was like, oh. So it's just being an experienced rep. So, again, have you met with any other contractors, right? Like, hey, have you met with any other contractors? Look at any other windows prior to today. It's who am I competing against, right? What companies specifically, right? Well, right. If you're a good sales rep, you should know, what your competitors are offering, and typically in the price range, right? Mm-hmm. What brand did they present to you? You should know that, but you're getting them to talk about it, right? Did they show you any samples? You'd be surprised how many window contractors show up. They don't bring a window in to show the customer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Happens all the time. What did you like most about their windows, right? Was there anything you didn't like? Oh, the price. Okay, great. You hear that a lot, right?
Right.
Have you received a written quote outlining the scope of the work and price? Yes or no? You'd be surprised how many people will go there, and then don't provide a proposal or an estimate, mm-hmm. right? When hiring a contractor, what are your 3 must-haves in order to consider it? Like, you're interviewing, you're finding the hot buttons, the pain points, right? You truly want to understand this. What was your last major home improvement? Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about that. Well, I had my kitchen done. Okay. Who performed it? Did they do it themselves? You want to know, are they a DIY guy? Do they typically go to families and friends? Look at the next question.
And then contractor. What did you like? What didn't you like? So you can
that's not right on here, right? Well, were you satisfied with the outcome? Yes, no. Explain.
There you go.
Right? It's here on a scale of 1 to 10, being the highest. I love this question because I find that most people, our customers, are replacing because the windows are cold and drafty, right? So I love this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how important is energy efficiency and savings to you? Now, most of our customers will say 10 or 8 or 9. It's very important, right? So it's like, I love that question, because when we get to the back end and they're like, well, I don't want to spend that much money. And it's like, Yeah. Well, you told me that this was very important. Yeah. Again, I have the most energy efficient window in my market. I do. I set myself up for that. At the end of the day, look at the numbers, U factor, solar heat gain coefficient, all the numbers that are on the sticker. There isn't another competitor that compares, right? So it's like, well, you did tell me that was important to you. Are you looking to fix your problem? Or you just call them out on it, right? So I love that question. I used to love this question as a rep. And then again, what would you estimate is your monthly energy expenses for heating? And so you can show them the value, the money that'll be saved over time by replacing their windows, right? This is all on the back end. We have a calculator for that. Please rate the following in terms of importance. I love this. N for not important, I for important, V for very important. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, how important is the quality of the install to you? Oh, it's very important. Great. What about the quality of the window? Oh, it's very important. Okay, great. What about the lifetime warranty that the company will provide? That's important. Okay. What about the energy? Very important. Okay. What about the cost? The quote that you get? Oh, that's going to be very important too. Great. I'm taking all this information, right, into the presentation and then into the close with me.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? You see how important it is to ask these questions? Truly get to know your customer?
Yeah.
Man,
I can't believe people don't do it. And it's what a miss.
They don't do it, or they skip through it. They speed through it. It's just like they just treat it like it's this thing that they have to do.
Right.
Well, if I don't do this, I'm going to get in trouble. No, if you don't do this, you're not going to sell at your you're not going to sell at your company's minimum standard. You're not going to sell at the minimum standards that have been established at your company. You're going to fail.
Right.
Sorry, nobody's good looking enough, right? They're just going to walk in and be like, well, certainly not myself or anybody that works for me. It's just going to walk in and be like, hey, I got this window and the lines are going to fall down. No, you have to sell, right? I've never met a sales rep that has been successful that did not do a great needs assessment.
Yeah.
And this is where it starts.
All right, let's go through the rest of the questions. Let's finish. We got a couple left.
Approximately, when are you thinking of starting this project? Right? Well, right away. Okay, great. At this point, I should know, right? But I'm just continuing to ask a lot of these repeat questions, get a lot of the same repeat answers, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm 6 months or a year. I'm building the house. What do you mean you're building the house? Or I got college. Again, if you get that and it's not within 3 months, you want to find a way to ask questions to see if you can move the project up, right? Because if they're not going to be doing this within typically 30 days, that's a problem for the sales rep. If you could save money by starting the process sooner rather than later, I'm sure you want to know about it, right? So this is the financing question, right? This is without me asking about financing, right? And I'm building into it. It's starting to get the customer accustomed to financing or using one. We don't use the word financing, right? We use, actually, it is there in the needs assessment. So this is an old needs assessment. We call it payment options. So our new needs assessment doesn't have these words in it, but we're starting to get them accustomed to financing these projects, right? Because 60% of our customers we find will finance, right? Because look, at the end of the day, most people don't even have $10,000 saved, right? And if your average project is $12,000, $13,000, well, unfortunately, you got to get most of them financed, right? The next and last question is, when it comes time to move forward with your project, there are 3 buckets our customers typically fall into, right? Some customers will pay for the project with cash or credit, right? Next bucket they'll pay for cash and some financing, and then some customers will fully finance it, right? Which bucket would you put yourself into, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, right? That's it. You just get that. No follow-up questions asked here. It's like, okay, boom. Because we have slides that are in our presentation that deal with it, right? But I just kind of want to get to know, where are we, right? Look, most of our customers, they figure, I'm going to pay for this in cash or a check, right? I say $8,000. Well, fortunately, the project's going to be 20.
But then again, it's if you can say it's $200 a month, that's a much different story, right?
Much different story. Yeah. And, I find that people tell me, I'm going to pay for it in cash. Okay, great. At the end, when you get to it, they're financing it because you got 12 months, 18 months, no interest, right? No interest, no payments. They can borrow the money. They can spread the payment terms, or they do a term loan over, 5, 10, 15 years with an interest rate because the monthly payment is more affordable, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had people all the time like, oh, I'm coming into this with cash, or I'm going to pay with a check. I saved some money. Okay, great. And then at the end, you come to it when you're closing the job, when you're closing the deal, selling the job, and you're getting a finance approval.
Yeah. And again, you're not doing this to get to the end of the presentation. You're guessing or assuming. And, what do they say when you assume?
We should probably do a podcast on this, and we should probably invite one of the finance providers in. But at the end of the day, we may have touched on this, but at the end of the day, in the past, we may have touched on this. At the end of the day, if you truly want to run a successful home improvement company working directly for homeowners, the majority of your customers, right? We find that the most successful companies, the majority of their customers finance the projects, right? 60% or more. I know people in this industry that have companies where they get 80, 85% of all of their jobs financed. Right? That's incredible, right?
Usually powerful, yeah, for sure.
Powerful. And there will be listeners that listen to this podcast that have never financed a job. All their customers are paid check, cash, credit card. And I know that because that was me a couple of years ago. That was me. Like, I've never offered financing. Well, that's me. That was me when I was $1 million company.
Yeah. Well, you did. I remember you did offer financing, but it was maybe 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20.
There was a time before that you did not know me when I didn't offer financing.
Yeah.
And I had finance companies pitch the idea like, hey, why don't you offer finance? I'm like, my customers don't want that. Yeah, okay. Yeah. 60% of my customers use financing now. And, I'm a $10, $12 million company this year, right? I would have never grown to this point without offering financing. So again, I'm just talking to the listener that thinks like I did a few years ago. Financing is very important. That's why it's here on needs assessment.
Yeah, and we're getting a little bit off topic from the needs assessment. I think we could do a whole discussion on financing. I think it's a great idea. We should bring somebody on that's from one of the financing companies and can really help educate the listeners on that. But just coming back to the needs assessment again, I'm curious. Do you do anything before the appointment to kind of get things queued up or primed? For them to be thinking about these things ahead of time, so that you come in, you do the needs assessment, and they've already got these ideas in their head.
Well, I mean, why don't you talk about it? You know what we do. It's through.
I don't remember. Yeah, I do. I do know some of it. I know you send the different.
You and Jonathan Weinberg from Build a Prime. Come on, you helped set. I know it's been a few years, but you helped me set this up.
Yeah. Yes. Obviously, I know about. We send the email about the sales rep, introducing, trying to get them. Make some sort of connections, make some sort of personal connections beforehand. We send information about here's the different things to think about when you're replacing your windows. Here are the gotchas. Here's what the other guys are going to do, and here's what they're going to tell you about. I don't remember things specifically tailored to getting people to think about their problems and why are we really having.
Well, we send out a PDF attached to the email through Build a Prime. It's automated. Once the appointment has been scheduled. And it's it's called the Window Buyer's Guide. And look, at the end of the day, it's been around for 20 years, right? But we put it as an attachment in the email, and it gives all the reasons. It talks about the windows and, the energy efficiency and the problems you may be having in the installation, us and, other companies in the market. I mean, we don't specifically call out companies, but we do a cost versus value report. So we start pre-positioning ourselves and conditioning the customers, right? Price conditioning the customers before we get into the appointment, right? So we have that Windows Buyer's Guide. And it does talk about, we've added it just recently, about financing, right? Customer finance and why they choose to finance and what the benefits of that. And here's what we always find. When you pull up to the customer's home, you can always tell who read it. and our best customers read it. And it's
yeah.
a lot of information, right? It's a Windows guide. It's a window buyer's guide. It's a PDF. It probably has, I don't know, maybe 50 pages, right? You got to put some time and effort into reading this thing.
And
right?
they're serious buyers at that point.
Yeah. It's free information, but it's good. It's packed with useful information. Now, it does position us, but there's good information for them there, right? If they don't already, if they haven't done a ton of research, they're going to find a lot of good information. But it's funny because you see those people, you pull up in front of the customer home, the lights on, the doors open, they're welcoming you. And I always marveled at it because I would ask them, "Oh, did you receive our email? Yeah. Did you read the Windows Buyer's Guide? Did you read our Window Buyer's Guide?" And they'd be like, yeah. And they start asking questions. I do that during the needs assessment. It's not in the needs assessment, but it's just something that I would naturally just throw in there because it's just funny. I couldn't explain it. By just pulling up, I just knew like that person, they read it. And if they read our Window Buyer Guide, whatever we call it, mm-hmm. I was going to close it 80% of the time.
Yeah.
They were all in. They were like, let's go, take the money,
right.
Take my money right here. I want to do business with you. We call those laydowns in the industry. And there are customers that will do business with you, that want to do business with you before you even show up.
And then, so one other thing that I was thinking about as you were going through this, and you're talking about how you like to do the measurements first, right? When you're doing the measurements, sometimes you find problems, right? Maybe you even find problems that the customer didn't know about. You might find some, indications that there's water infiltration or rot or other things like that. And then, especially when you get to
not sometimes, most of the time, the customer is not aware of the issues, the serious issues that they have. Because remember, who really pays attention to their windows? Who walks over to their windows and looks at the frames and looks around? It's, oh, wow, look at that water stain. You're typically looking out the window from a distance, right? And if you are up close, you're looking out. You're not paying attention to what's going really on around the window. So in most cases, we teach our reps to be able to clearly identify those issues that were on a needs assessment, right? Like water infiltration, mold. There's signs, right, that you can see where you can point it out to the customer, like, hey, did you realize you have water infiltration here? And they're like, no. Like, yeah, look at this water stain here. Look at the molding separating from the window. You have a moisture issue here. Look at the brown waters. Oh my God, I've never known that. Yeah, right. So you're building a sense of urgency. You're pulling the project timeline up, right? And a good rep will be able to do that during the measure.
Right. And then also when you get to the part of the needs assessment, especially as you're talking about competitors and who else has been there, who else did they get a quote from? And like, wait, so-and-so window company didn't point that other issue out to you?
So rather than waiting to the needs assessment, right? Myself, and this is just the way I handled it. When I was doing my measure with the customer and I found something that they weren't aware of, I would then look at them and I would say to them with a curious, concerned look like, so am I the first person that looked at these windows, or have you had other companies in here? Right?
That's
and sometimes customers are like, yeah, you're the first one. Okay, great. But lots of times they'd be like, no, I had Home Depot and renewal in here. And I would say, and they didn't point that out to you? No. Okay. And that's it. There's no need to say anything else at that point, right? It's like,
no, nothing else. That's it.
All right. All right. And I would just go, huh? Okay. All right. And I would just move on.
The deal just went way up.
Yeah. Right. Like, boom. Like, So again, this is just being an experienced sales rep, right? This is being a problem solver, right? We called it a bunch of things in the past, but this is genuinely being interested in the customer's problem, right? Going in there to actively listen and solve that problem, right? And understanding that although you have a 10-step, 7-step, whatever, you have a process, a templated system, that's really just a guide. And you have to be able to tweak and think on your feet and be able to treat each one like it's the first one every single time, right? That's a good sales rep. And you can't teach that shit. You can't teach it. It's natural.
Yeah, that's the thing I was talking about earlier. I don't have that natural aspect of it. I could learn a system. I could go in and go through a needs assessment, have a conversation, uncover things.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Like when I found like I like to study sales, and I find that the best sales reps. It's funny. You can always ask the question, and most of the time you get the same answer. Yes, if you ask it, and you can't ask it during the interview, but it's like, hey man, like when you were single, were you good with the ladies? Like, would you naturally be a good person? Like, would you go to a woman and talk to her at a bar, and could you like naturally engage with people in a social setting? Like, were you good? Were you good? Were you good with Were you good with the opposite sex? Whatever that may be these days, right? Were you good at talking to those people? And you'll find that good sales reps always were, despite what they looked like, right? They handsome, like they would be able to just walk into a bar or a room, a setting, a social setting, just walk up to somebody and just be like, hey, just have a natural conversation and just feel good, right? Sell themselves, whatever, 20 years ago, whatever, when they were single, you could always tie that back to that person. They're just naturally good in a social setting because they're curious. When they meet somebody, they truly want to get to know and understand that person.
And there you go. That's how you know that I wouldn't make a good one. I wouldn't pass your test. But
you can tell that during the interview, right? So like if this person is naturally engaging with you, right? When you're interviewing, you ask questions and they're actively engaged. And as a matter of fact, you want the candidate to be asking you questions too, right? Because they want to get to know you, your company. Like, what is it about your company? They're interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing them. When you see that, when a candidate, you're like, oh, I got a pretty good one here. It's hard to find good stuff.
Some of the best interviews I do, it's the candidate asking a lot of questions.
Yes.
And you can tell a lot by the types of questions that they ask.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If they're, because it's as much of an interview, it's as much of an interview for you as it is for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. Yeah. I threw that in there. You can edit that out if you want about the, being good in a social setting when they were younger. And you'll always find that a great sales rep was always good. And it's probably still good in a social setting.
Sure. Yeah.
But
yeah. The people who are
naturally curious. They're naturally curious. Yeah. I can just walk up to a stranger. Well, I'm not a weirdo. I don't walk up to strangers. But like if I meet somebody that's new, I could just have a natural conversation with them. And I listen. Actively listen.
Yeah.
I don't listen to answer.
Yeah.
I just want to get to know them. Yeah.
Well, I think we hit on a lot of really great things with the needs assessment today. This was really good. It's just so many, even take away little nuggets.
So important.
Yeah. So many nuggets to take away. If you don't have a needs assessment, create it's just a document. Just a document with some questions on it. Start with the ones that you went over today, adapt it, whether it's for a roofing business or for siding or, for bath or for decks and fences, whatever, for flooring, any of these types of things. It's basically the same thing, just little tweaks and different.
If you're going to sell at a price point, your services, right? Your goods and services, you're going to sell at a price point that's truly profitable, right? That's making a good, honest profit. I mean, if you're not out there just selling on price, like if you're the guy out there that's just like, I'm going to be the lowest price competitor in my market, yeah, you don't need to do any of this shit. Just go in there, ask a couple questions, show them some stuff, and give them the lowest price. You're going to have people that are going to do business with you, unfortunately, right? But if you truly want to run a real business that's profitable, that's going to provide you with a good life, right? For your family, for your employees, for your customers, right? You're going to have to sell at a certain price point. You're going to need to do this, right? So like I challenge our listeners, like if you're not doing this and you're selling at a price point that's, in the mid to upper end and you're struggling, this is probably why, right? You're not getting this. Because if you do this, everything else is easy.
And if anybody has any questions out there and that's listening to this episode or any of the others, I just want to encourage everybody to put questions in the comments. We'll look at those and we'll answer those on upcoming episodes. So we'd love to come back to it and answer everybody's questions that they may have about needs assessment or anything else that we've been talking about. So definitely, write in those comments and I would love to help answer those questions for you.
And don't forget to like and subscribe our podcast. We don't ask this is probably like our 8th or 9th or 10th episode that we're releasing, and we haven't asked people to like, subscribe, and share this podcast if you find it useful. So please, we'd really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yes. All right.
All right, Jonathan, take us home.
Well, thanks for another great episode of Build to Win, John. It's been great talking to you again, and we'll be back again in a couple of weeks.
Jonathan, thank you. Listeners, thank you very much for listening to two guys talk about this business. We hope that you're getting something out of it. We appreciate you. Thank you.